there. Today we're going to unpack the Year 11 English Task 1, your persuasive multimodal. Clearly we're going to go through the criteria for each of the sections and what you need to do to achieve the grade that you're hoping for. So let's start with the first criteria, which is understanding and responding to context. Your first dot point there is an exploitation of a range of speech patterns and conventions to achieve specific purposes. Here you're getting marked on your use of formal language, also your greeting, so something similar to good morning ladies and gentlemen will suffice. To get an A, you need to exploit those speech patterns to achieve specific purposes. For a B, it's an effective control to achieve specific purposes, and for a C, it's just a use of to achieve purposes. The second dot point is a discerning selection, organisation and synthesis of relevant and substantive subject matter to support opinions and perspectives. Here, we're specifically looking at your structure, obviously an introduction, 3 body paragraphs and a conclusion, and your ability to write cohesively and speak cohesively to meet the time limit. For an A, it's a discerning selection with synthesis, a B is an effective selection with synthesis, and for a C standard, you've just selected subject matter for your purposes. The last dot point in understanding and responding to context is about the manipulation and control of roles of the speaker, signer, and relationships with the audience. So specifically, that's your credibility, your maintenance of role of the speaker with your use of formal language. Also, that's reference to your multimodal throughout your presentations, and the audience is able to easily follow your argument. So it's sequenced logically. To get an A for that criteria, you have a manipulation and control of that role. For a B, it's an establishment and control. And for a C, it's an establishment and maintenance of the role. I will now pass over to Ms. Grobler, who's going to unpack the understanding and controlling textual features criteria.
Alright, so your understanding and controlling of textual features mainly refers to the way that you've organised and written your actual speech in this section here. So the first dot point is about a combination of a range of grammatically accurate language structures, including your clauses and sentences in written texts. So what we're looking for there is that you've been accurate in the structuring of your sentences. Specifically, we will be paying attention to your use of quotes, making sure that you have contextualized the quote, given us the quote accurately, and then analysed the quote effectively. We will also be looking at your accurate grammar on your multimodal component. For an A in that category, you need to have a discerning use for specific effects. For a B, you would control the grammar for effects, and for a C, you are using the grammar to achieve purposes. The second dot point is about your use of mode-appropriate cohesive devices to connect ideas and text. So that is your use of cohesive devices and your connective words, both within the paragraph and between the paragraphs. For an A, you have used that in a discerning way to both develop your ideas as well as emphasize them. For a B, you are using those effectively to develop and maintain your ideas. And for a C, you are using those to link your ideas together. The third dot point here is about your use of vocabulary. You need to make sure that your vocabulary is not only accurate overall, but that you have picked the specific technique and terminology accurately in terms of the poetic terms and poetic features that you are describing. For an A, that would be done at a discerning level, a wide range of vocabulary, and it would be for specific purposes. For a B, it is effective vocabulary for a specific purpose, and for a C, you have use of suitable vocabulary. The fourth part of this criteria is about your spoken and mode-appropriate features. So there's 3 elements to this criteria, and they are outlined along this section here. So number 1 is about your spoken or signed features. That is your ability to pronounce the words, pause and phrase things accurately to be audible and clear, use an appropriate volume, and maintain a steady pace. The second element here is your non-verbal features. That includes an appropriate facial expression, your gestures, the proximity to the audience, your stance, and your movement. And the third element here is the complementary features. So that's the use of your multimodal, the graphics, the still and moving images, music or sound effects. It's important that you are using those complementary features, pointing and gesturing, etc., and not just having them there behind you as you talk. For an A in this criteria, you need a very discerning use to achieve specific effects. For a B, you need an effective use to achieve effects. And for a C, it needs to be suitable to achieve purposes. I'll hand back to Miss Mason to cover creating and evaluating meaning.
Thank you, Miss Grobler. Unfortunately, Miss Gelders couldn't be with us this afternoon, so you've got me for round 3. So creating and evaluating meaning criteria is about your discerning manipulation of the ways ideas, attitudes and values underpin texts and influence audiences. So specifically with this criteria, we're looking at your quote analysis, also that your quote links to the enduring message. So you need to make sure that you've got a clear enduring message between your poem and your song, and then you make those explicit links throughout. To get an A, you've got a discerning manipulation. For a B, it's an effective manipulation, and a C is just an appropriate use of the ways ideas, attitudes, and values underpin that text. The second criteria there is a subtle and complex creation of perspectives and representations of concepts, identities, times, and places. Here specifically, we're looking at your analysis of your modern text and your discussion of your point of view, and that's also the reiteration of your thesis there. So linking your thesis in each of your body paragraphs, and then also linking ideas together from body paragraph to the next. To get an A, it's a subtle and complex creation of these perspectives. A B is an effective creation of perspectives, and a C is a creation of perspectives. Lastly, we've got your discerning use of aesthetic features to achieve specific purposes in text. This is the holistic nature of the piece. So this is how it is constructed together, that your arguments are sequenced logically, and that you have reiterated your thesis throughout. To get an A, you've got a discerning use for specific purposes, a B is an effective use for specific purposes, and a C is a use of to achieve those purposes. Hopefully this clarifies what the task requirements are for you. If you have any issues or you're still uncertain, please see your classroom teacher. Have a good afternoon.